My father called me a beggar in front of 100 people at the hotel I paid for. His voice echoed off the marble walls while my mother sipped her champagne like nothing happened. My sister smirked the way she always does when she thinks she's won. But what they didn't realize was that every bill, every flower, every glass in that ballroom was charged to my company. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just walked out, opened my laptop, and started pulling the strings. Within an hour, the music stopped. The lights dimmed, and their grand celebration collapsed. Before I tell you how it all unraveled, hit like and drop a comment. Have you ever been humiliated by your own family and decided to let karma do the cleanup? I used to think success would finally buy me peace. Turns out it only bought me silence, the kind that fills every call that goes unanswered, every visit that ends with, "We're proud of you, Lucy, but you work too much." Growing up, I was the responsible one, the bill payer, the fixer. My sister Victoria was the pretty one, the one with the soft voice, the one who never lifted a finger but always got the praise. My parents used to joke that I was born 30 because even at 15, I was filing their taxes, calling insurance, managing overdue bills, while they planned another family vacation they couldn't afford. When I started Parker & Co., they called it a cute side business. 3 years later, when I paid off their mortgage, suddenly I was the financial backbone of the family. They said it like it was an honor, but it was a leash. Every emergency call, "we just need a little help," tightened it. My mother's favorite phrase was, "We're family, Lucy. Family helps family." I believed her until the day she used my card to pay for Victoria's engagement ring. I confronted her and she smiled that slow, pitying smile. "You make so much, sweetheart. Why count every dollar?" It's strange how betrayal doesn't start with shouting. It starts with tiny exceptions you make for people you love. One by one, they stack up until you wake up and realize you've built them a kingdom with your money and they've crowned you their servant. A few weeks before the banquet, Victoria called me, her voice syrup sweet. "Dad wants to do something special, a family celebration, just for us." She said it like an invitation to belong. I didn't know I was funding the show. When the first invoices came through my office, I assumed it was a mistake. My assistant asked if we'd started sponsoring private events now. The contract said Parker Family Gala. Vendor name my father. Payment source my business card on file. I should have canceled it then. I didn't. Some pathetic part of me wanted to see if maybe just this once they'd thank me. Instead, that night I got my answer. Not a thank you. Not even acknowledgement. Just one sentence. Get this beggar out, and the realization that I'd spent years financing my own humiliation. That was the night something inside me snapped. Not loud, not visible, but clean, final. When I got home that night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat in the dark staring at the reflection of the city lights on my window, trying to understand how a family could spend your money and still call you a beggar. The silence felt heavier than anger. It was the sound of something ending. By morning, the noise started. First my mother, Lucy. "You know your father didn't mean it. He was just overwhelmed. Overwhelmed by what? The fact that I existed without owing him an explanation I didn't answer." Then came Victoria. "We can talk about this later, but right now the hotel's saying the payment didn't go through. Could you check that, check that?" Not "how are you?" Not "I'm sorry." Just fix it. That was when I logged into the business account. The numbers stared back, 6 figures in transactions tagged family event. I traced everyone, every signature, every clause, all under my LLC, my logo, my liability. The moment I saw my own name on the catering contract, I smiled. Not out of pride, out of clarity. I didn't rage, I revoked. Payments canceled, authorizations voided, flights reversed. By the time they realized what was happening, their family gala had turned into a logistical collapse. The hotel couldn't release rooms. The caterer pulled out. The DJ refused to show. And somewhere between those frantic calls, Jared showed up at my door. He was sweating through his dress shirt, face red. "Lucy, you have to fix this. They're panicking." I leaned against the doorway, arms folded. "I didn't break anything." He blinked. "You canceled everything." "No," I said quietly. "I just stopped paying for what wasn't mine." He looked at me like I was speaking another language. "They're your parents." "And I'm their bank," I replied. "Except this bank just closed its accounts." He threatened lawyers, lawsuits, public embarrassment. I just smiled. "Good. Then we'll need receipts." The truth hit him a second too late. He realized I had them all. Every transfer, every signature, every careless message asking for just a bit more. He backed away like he'd seen a ghost. When the door clicked shut, I finally exhaled. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the rush of taking back control. I walked straight to my office, unlocked a drawer, and pulled out a folder labeled Contingency. Inside were copies of every financial favor I'd ever done for them, organized, notarized, dated. Proof that my generosity had been methodical. That night, I didn't sleep. I replayed my father's words in my head over and over until they lost their power. "Get this beggar out." Beggar. The word that once burned now sounded ridiculous. Because beggars don't fund banquets. Beggars don't own the roof people celebrate under. Beggars don't hold the receipts. That was the moment I decided this wouldn't end with silence. It would end with documentation. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Unknown numbers, family group threads, even voicemails from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. They all said the same thing: "Lucy, this has gone too far. Too far." Apparently, revoking what was mine counted as an act of war. By noon, my inbox was a battlefield of emotions, pleading, blaming, and thinly veiled threats. One email from my mother stood out. "We didn't mean what we said. Your father's embarrassed. Just pay the venue and let's move on." I stared at it for a full minute before replying. "You moved on the second you called me a beggar." Then I hit delete and blocked her address. That's when Franklin, my family's longtime accountant, called. His voice was cautious, almost apologetic. "Lucy, I was reviewing your parents' trust documents and something's off. The beach condo payments aren't coming from their account." I turned my chair toward the window. "Whose are they coming from?" There was a pause. "From an LLC tied to your name, Parker & Co." I almost laughed. They hadn't just humiliated me, they'd built their lifestyle with my corporate funds and filed it under inheritance. "Franklin," I said slowly, "do me a favor. Run a full audit. Every transaction since 2017. He hesitated. "Lucy, if I do that, it'll get ugly." "It's already ugly," I said. "Now let's make it legal." By the end of the day, I was in my lawyer Tiffany's office. Her space looked like her personality, minimal, sharp, cold. She listened quietly while I laid everything out: the canceled payments, the fraudulent condo, transfers, the years of misuse. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. "We can do this two ways," she said. "Quietly or properly." "Properly," I replied without hesitation. She nodded once. "Then we'll file. Fraud, misrepresentation, unauthorized use of funds, property reassignment." I looked at the papers she drafted, the legal language neat and surgical. "They'll try to call my bluff," I said. Tiffany smiled faintly. "They already did." Within 48 hours, the documents were served. The same family that once called me for money now received certified letters with my company's seal at the top. The same logo that had funded their vacations now marked their reckoning. That night, my mother's voicemail came through, her voice cracking. "You're destroying us over one mistake. People will talk, Lucy. The church, the neighbors, your father's reputation. That word had always meant more to them than truth." I let the message play until it ended, then pressed save, evidence. By morning, the condo title transfer was confirmed, legally, irrevocably mine. Their dream of a retirement escape, gone. I sat at my desk, the document still warm from the printer, and whispered to myself, "This isn't revenge. It's reconciliation with reality." And for the first time in years, I felt free. The hearing date came faster than I expected. 3 weeks of silence, punctuated by gossip I wasn't supposed to hear. My cousin texted me screenshots from the family chat I'd been kicked out of years ago. "Lucy's just being dramatic," one message read. "She'll cave before court." Another said, "She won't risk Dad's reputation." "She never does." They had no idea I'd stopped protecting reputations the moment mine was destroyed. The morning of the hearing, the sky was a pale gray, heavy with rain. I dressed like armor, navy suit, low bun, steel watch. In the mirror, I didn't see the daughter they dismissed. I saw a witness, a creditor, the living ledger of every dollar they'd taken. Tiffany met me outside the courthouse, folders in hand. "You ready?" I nodded. Been ready for years. Inside, the air was cold and sterile, the kind that hums with fluorescent lights and quiet tension. My parents sat across the aisle, my mother in pearls, face tight, my father clutching a hat like it was the last thing holding him upright. Victoria scrolled her phone, pretending not to care. The judge called my name first. "Ms. Parker, you filed for financial restitution and property reassignment." "Yes, Your Honor." Tiffany stood beside me, calm and lethal. "We'll be showing evidence of misuse of corporate funds, falsified inheritance claims, and trust account manipulation dating back 6 years. As she spoke, she clicked the remote, and the first slide lit up on the screen behind us. Charts, dates, transactions. "This," Tiffany said, "is the account history from Parker & Cosa, directly linked to the payments for the family gala, where Ms. Parker was publicly humiliated and expelled." The room went silent, except for the soft buzz of the projector. Line after line appeared: hotel deposits, catering invoices, luxury flights. Everyone signed under my name. My father shifted in his seat, face flushed. "We didn't know," he said suddenly. "She volunteered those payments." The judge's eyes narrowed. Volunteered or unaware, Tiffany didn't flinch. "Your Honor, we also have documentation showing that the Parkers claimed ownership of a beach property, purchased entirely under my client's company. They declared it as inheritance on their taxes." The next slide appeared: the condo deed, my logo, my digital signature. My mother's hand shot to her mouth. "Lucy, we can talk about this." Tiffany cut in, her voice smooth. "No, Mrs. Parker. We'll talk about this here on record." For the next 40 minutes, she laid everything bare. The bank transfers labeled urgent family repairs that turned out to be a kitchen remodel for Victoria. The college fund withdrawals spent on spa weekends. The wire labeled medical expenses that went straight into my father's vintage Mustang restoration. It wasn't just money, it was a timeline of entitlement. Finally, the judge turned to me. "Miss Parker, what outcome are you seeking today?" I stood. My heart wasn't pounding. It was steady, cold, certain. "I'm not seeking punishment," I said. "Just truth on paper. Let the record match reality." My father slammed his palm on the table. "This is ridiculous. You're destroying your family." I met his eyes. "No, Dad. I'm auditing it." He froze, the words hitting harder than I expected, maybe because they were true. The judge raised her hand for silence. "The evidence is substantial. The property will remain in Ms. Parker's name. The misused funds are to be reimbursed to the trust under court supervision. Any further claims against Ms. Parker's company are void." The gavel hit the block sharp and final. Across the aisle, my mother whispered something to my father, but he didn't respond. Victoria's eyes glistened not with guilt, but with humiliation. When court adjourned, Tiffany leaned over and whispered, "Elegant justice." I exhaled slowly. No headlines, no handcuffs, just balance. As I turned to leave, my father rose from his seat. For the first time, he didn't look like a patriarch. He looked like a man who'd spent his whole life pretending he was one. "You've made your point," he said quietly, "but you're about to ruin us. Are you proud of that?" I paused in the doorway, feeling the weight of every year I'd spent paying their bills, their debts, their silence. "No," I said. "I'm not proud. I'm tired. Tired of funding my own erasure." He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came, only a long, empty breath. Then he placed a folded check on the bench, blank signed. I slid it back. "This was never about your money," I said. "It was about mine." Outside, the rain had stopped. The courthouse steps glistened in the wet light. I took off my heels, walked barefoot for a few seconds just to feel something real beneath me. Tiffany joined me. "You did it," she said. I looked back at the courthouse doors. "No," I said softly, "I just stopped pretending." For the first time in my life, I wasn't the provider, the savior, the fixer. I was simply Lucy Parker, the woman who stopped paying for love that never existed. And that silence, the one that followed, wasn't empty anymore. It was earned. Weeks passed, and the silence that once felt cruel began to sound like peace. No more late-night calls, no more just this once texts, no guilt disguised as family love. My phone stayed still, and for the first time in years, I didn't dread picking it up. The court's decision rippled through every corner of their lives. My parents sold their country club memberships. Victoria deleted her Instagram for a while after someone commented, "Guess your sister owns that condo now." The gossip burned through their circle faster than they could spin the story. But I didn't care. I wasn't watching. I'd sold the condo a month after the ruling. The proceeds went straight into something new, the Parker Foundation, a fund for women putting themselves through college without family support. I wanted the money that once fed their vanity to feed someone's future instead. Sometimes late at night, I'd still think about the day in the hotel lobby, the echo of my father's voice, the way everyone turned away. But the memory didn't sting anymore. It was just a scene from a movie I'd finally walked out of. Then one afternoon, I found an envelope slipped under my door. No return address. Inside a photograph from that banquet, everyone dressed in silver and navy glasses raised mid-toast. In the background, blurry but unmistakable, was me, mid-turn, leaving the frame. On the back, a note written in Victoria's handwriting. This was the moment it all fell apart. I stared at it for a long time, then fed it through my shredder, piece by piece. What fell apart wasn't family, it was illusion. The illusion that love requires sacrifice from only one side. When the last strip of paper disappeared, I felt something like relief. Not triumph, not revenge, just quiet. And in that quiet, I realized I hadn't lost a family. I'd freed myself from financing one. Family isn't supposed to feel like debt you can never finish paying. Sometimes the only way to heal is to stop handing out second chances disguised as help. I didn't ruin my family, I just ended their overdraft. And in that space, I built something better. Boundaries, peace, and a future that finally belongs to me. If you've ever had to walk away to protect your sanity, tell me in the comments. Your story might help someone else do the same. And don't forget to hit subscribe. More stories like this are coming.